Hi everyone, it's your favourite Atomic Blonde here with a little bit of pop chat this weekend. How's everybody doing? Yeah, so I actually got a request to review the show I'm going to be chatting about today. Yeah, so Dexter Resurrection. So we have got lots of iterations of Dexter now. Now, obviously, back in the day, I used to watch Dexter, really liked it. I think everybody's agreed that, you know, kind of after the Trinity season, it peaked and it gradually kind of declined over time. And we all know the disaster of the final season, and the ending just did not sit well with fans, didn't sit well with Michael C. Hall, which is often the case, you know, when they know the characters so well. So we were given Dexter New Blood a couple of years ago on Paramount, which in the main I enjoyed. I did talk about it on the channel. The thing I kind of struggled with New Blood, and I think I'm going to have the same issue with this series, is Harrison. He's immensely annoying. You know, very modern teenager, just very self-absorbed, very selfish. Everything's about them. They don't listen. Typical teenagers, to be fair. But I just found his character immensely irritating. I mean, the kid that plays him, very good. All of that. Nothing against the young actor. I think he does actually a very good job in terms of portraying a young psychopath. But I just don't like how Harrison's written. Then we had Dexter Prodigal Son, which is the prequel, which I reviewed on this channel, and I actually really enjoyed. I think in the main it got good reviews. Again, for me, the only thing that really kind of took me out was the casting of Deborah. That just wasn't right. The casting of young Dexter was amazing, absolutely spot on, even looks like Michael C. Hall. Really enjoyed that show, and that's kind of one of the few you can hold up as this is a good prequel. This is kind of how it's done. The downside of that was obviously Sarah Michelle Gellar was in it and gave him the idea to reboot Buffy. So and we all know what a disaster that's going to be without Joss. And you know, she came back out of retirement for what was the name of that show? Was it Wolf Creek or something or other? I don't know, some werewolf thing. Which was, you know, she read the script and came out of retirement for that. And boy, was that show bad. I can't even remember the name of it. And I reviewed it on this channel. It was like, just what it was, so woke, modern nonsense, so badly written, so bad characters. Like, if that's her judgment of what's a good show, it's going to be like, hold my beer, Disney. Here comes Sarah Michelle Gellar and Buffy. It's just going to be a bunch of girl bosses running around. It's going to be awful. But I digress. So today I am here to talk about Dexter Resurrection. So again, there's a bit of a hoo-ha at the end of New Blood where they go, oh my God, I can't believe they killed off Dexter again. Or they brought him back just to do this. And at the time I remember saying, well, we don't know he's dead. You know, Harrison shot him and he's bleeding out in the snow. Could go either way. Depends on the ratings, right? But as it goes, obviously not a massive spoiler, given it's called Dexter Resurrection, he didn't die. And they do say part of the reason for that is that because he was in the snow, and obviously if you suffer like hypothermia, it slows how quickly you bleed out and all those kind of things. So we open up with Dexter in hospital. He's currently in a coma. He's had to have like surgery on his heart because of the bullets like grazed his heart, and I think it's like he's in coma for like 10 weeks, which point, you know, Harrison's just shot him and legged it, and we're sort of having these episodes, I guess, while Dexter's in a coma and he's kind of revisiting bits and bobs, and we get like spoiler here, guys, so if you don't know. Okay, here we go. He sees like Trinity and he's talking to him, and there's other flashbacks and other like Stokes and other people that from the original Dexter series sort of coming in, and it's almost like he's sort of consciousness battling to, like, does he just give up and let, and just, he's not a good person, just, don't wake up, or should he wake up and go help Harrison? What should he do? And I actually really like this. I thought this was done quite well, and quite a good refresher as well, I think, for people coming back, or maybe coming back to the show, haven't watched the original show for a long time. So we've got a few cameos in this and callbacks, and people coming back from the original show. Obviously, the main one of that is Angel Batista, who in New Blood has pretty much joined the dots and figured out, or he's like as convinced as he can be, that Dexter's the Bayside Butcher. So he's on this sort of bit of a personal vendetta to prove that's the case, or disprove it. Either his best friend for like 20 odd years, he's only been lying to him this whole time, or he is, right? So he's on this sort of bit of a personal mission. So he turns up at the hospital, finds out Dexter's still alive, speaks to Dexter. Dexter's like obviously panicking. This is obviously wakes up from his coma, deciding that he's going to go find Harrison and help his son. Because right now Harrison thinks he's dead. He's murdered his father. We kind of get Dexter sort of mobilizing, and they've also brought back the actor who played Dexter's father in the original. So as we know, when he's mulling things over, and it's his code and morality and all of those kind of things, it's like his dad was almost like Jiminy Cricket on his shoulder kind of thing, saying, does it meet the code? He's come back and he's that voice again, and we see his father again, which is great. I love that kind of dynamic. It was always a little bit weird in Dexter, but it worked, right? Because Dexter's not all there. So that character, that actor's back to play like his dead father. And we basically find that Harrison has run away to New York. He's got himself a job in a hotel where he sort of, does all the odd jobs, sort of bellhop kind of thing, almost like a concierge in training. He gets people things and picks up dry cleaning, all that kind of stuff. But he's befriended, obviously, people, and they're helping him where there's a vacant room. He's basically living at the hotel, and they're keeping it quiet because he's currently homeless. But he's made some friendships, and he's helping out. So generally seems like, he's kind of on a bit of a straight and narrow, and he's trying to move forward with his life and just have a normal life. He finishes his high school diploma, and everything seems to be going okay until one evening, during the day, there's a guest checked in, a young lady. She's there for a conference, and he sort of takes her up to her room. Nice young lady. And then we see this bit of a, rich idiot comes in, but he gets stuff for him. He tips well. Once his watch fixed, he gives it to Harrison, and he'll go get it sorted. So later on that evening, Harrison sees this rich guy with the girl from the conference, who's looks like she's like paralytic drunk, and he's like, hey, help me get my wife to the room. And Harrison's a bit like, that's not his wife, because he knows he met her earlier in the day. He then helps him take her up to the room, goes to the door, and you can see that Harrison's sort of struggling with this, because this girl is not compos mentis at all. Gets to the door, opens the door, and he goes in with her, and Harrison goes to walk away, but his conscience gets the better of him, and he goes back, lets himself into the room, and you can basically see that the guy's going to SA her. So Harrison charges into the rescue, but as ever, Harrison can't control his temper, and rather than just doing enough to take the girl, he actually murders him in the bathroom. So then he sort of panics a bit, but then remembers everything that Dexter taught him, and then plans on disposing of the body. We see him making up solution to clear all the blood. He basically murders him by taking the cistern lid off and smacks him with that several times. Replaces that curtains, gets the girl back into her room. She's like none the wiser, because it turns out that she's basically a hypnol, so she's like none the wiser. And he gets rid of the body, and he thinks he's in the clear. He chops up the body the way Dexter showed him in New Blood, puts it into the bin bags, and it goes with the rest of the hotel trash. Problem is, when they're emptying the garbage truck, the bags come out and splits open, and they basically find the body parts, and the police end up coming back to the hotel, and an investigation ensues. While all this is going on, Dexter then manages to find out where Harrison is. He heads to New York. He's trying to set himself up there, because he's basically with like Harry, his dead father, in his ear. He's like, you know, you've got to go, you've got to help Harrison, you're a father, you know, you've screwed up, you've got to put things right, basically. And then we see he gets to New York, and there's a series of serial killer murders happening on, like, it's like the equivalent of like Bolt here, or Uber, kind of Uber drivers, but it's that kind of thing. And seems to be targeting these drivers mainly because it comes across like maybe because they're immigrants or they have families. But these are sick, twisted guys, so I think he'd come up with any reason why he wanted to kill them. And the press are calling him the Dark Passenger. So this sets Dexter off, because he's always referred to his dark side as the Dark Passenger. And he's like, there's only room for one dark passenger. Plus, this guy kind of fits the code. These are innocent taxi drivers, right? Just trying to make a living, feeding their families, whatever. So he's then decided he's on a mission to get this guy. He manages to, he gets a lift in one of these taxis, meets this really nice guy who basically invites him to some family gathering, as you do, you know, he's just sort of met him. So Dexter then decides to set himself up as a driver. This guy helps him. He also then moves into an apartment at this guy's house. You know, he's doing what he's always done, like sort of played the normal, like, nice guy, you know. Background checks are run on him, and it just sort of shows that he's been off the grid, and he just explains that he like lost family members and basically, you know, just went off the grid for a while, processing his grief, blah blah blah, and that's why he's left Miami, and that's why he's now in New York. He's found Harrison. He knows where Harrison is, but he can't bring himself to introduce him to him yet. And when the body's found and how the body was dismembered, Dexter realizes that Harrison's done this because he's chopped him up the way he taught him to. And it smuggles himself into the hotel, kind of goes round, figures out how Harrison did it, and he finds one speck of blood on the ceiling tile in the kitchen. And you see this happening at like one bit of forensics that Harrison missed, so Dexter clears that up. So he's still protecting Harrison. Then they've introduced this detective who's clearly on the spectrum. She's like a bit weird, and she walks around with headphones blasting out the Bee Gees for some reason, but that's how she thinks. And you know, she's almost like, you know, this sort of autistic expert, and she sees things that others don't see, a bit like how Dexter did with like blood splatter and stuff. So she's got a gut feel, or she sort of thinks that it is Harrison, but she can't prove it. And Dexter's like typical, you know, on this murder, it's like the one competent cop. So she's sort of closing in on Harrison. Dexter is closing in on the Dark Passenger. And it's all kind of set up. So far, so good, I have to say. Dexter is much darker, I think, than he was in the original shows. But I think that's a good, now it could be a double-edged thing, right? That partly modern audiences and anti-heroes, or portraying a serial killer in some sort of good light, is probably, I mean, I think it was kind of frowned on a little bit when Dexter came out, but he, like, people, you know, he was a good guy, but because of the circumstances and the childhood trauma, you know, he morphed into this thing. I think it does feel like they're kind of playing that down a bit more and leaning much more into his darker side, even though we'd still see the good parts to Dexter and how he is with his family and this taxi driver who's helping him out, and all those kind of things. But also, I think it makes sense that he's darker after we've seen, you know, Deb dying. What happened with Deb changed him forever. and then going through New Blood and his relationship with Harrison and trying to teach him the code and all those kind of things. You know, he is not the same young man that he was in Dexter. So for me, it does feel sensible that they're not just trying to write him the same way they did, you know, 30 years ago or 20 years ago, that his character has evolved, but he's still got that code. He's still got that moral line. And I think that's really important. I think when if they deviate away from that, then you've kind of lost the ethos of the show, really, because this code is like so ingrained. And even in Prodigal, you know, it's all about Harry teaching him the code and how important this is. There's also another subplot running around Uma Thurman's been brought in to the show. She's working for someone who's incredibly rich, who seems to be going around hiring, for lack of a better term, serial killers for someone, and they provide this sick someone with their trophies. And Dexter is kind of now inserting himself into this. I won't go into exactly how because I don't want to spoil it for you, but this could be like a really interesting subplot, or it could be really stupid. It's hard to grasp right now, but I'm sure I've read that Peter Dinklage is in this, and he might be this rich weird guy who's getting these serial killers together. But it's quite interesting for now, and they're completely ruthless. Like, there's rules that you follow. Again, it's all about these codes, right? There's rules, and if you break these rules, you are out. And I mean, not in a nice way. But she's stone cold, and Uma Thurman is really good at these kind of characters, and in fact, she looks great as well. So it's great to see her back on the screens and doing stuff. Yeah, so interesting to see where that plot thread goes as well. So far, so good. I found all 3 episodes very engaging. They are darker. They don't have so much of that humor that we had in Dexter so far. There's been some good callbacks to the original Dexter. The writing's pretty solid. You know, there's no sort of wokeness in there right now. And Uma Thurman, even though she can handle herself. I mean, she's obviously some hit woman or something like that. She's not this annoying kind of girl boss who's going around. She's just stone cold. You know, she's got a job to do. She executes that job. So fine with that. So the writing's pretty solid so far. Like how they're doing it. So I have my reservations about Harrison. I hope they write him better in this series than they did in New Blood, but he's still pretty annoying. The fact he's got himself into this situation, like he's literally learned nothing. I mean, it does fit the code that this guy. So when we find out that this guy who he killed, yes, he was going to SA this woman, but he's got a history of this and getting off with it because basically he's rich and he's always been able to buy his way out of it. So, you know, but he didn't do it because it fits the code. He did it because he basically lost his temper and couldn't control what he was doing. Like, it wasn't thought through, it wasn't planned, all of that kind of stuff. So he seems to literally learn nothing, and he's still a div. Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see where his character goes, and ultimately, if Dexter comes back into his life, where's that going to lead? Because I think, you know, Harrison is going to be the end of Dexter. Like, Dexter's either going to end up going to prison or being killed or something, because Harrison just doesn't listen and learn, and he's still so self-absorbed. And yeah, you know, for as much as we're seeing growth in Dexter's character, we're not really seeing it in Harrison yet, but maybe this will be the series that he grows up. I don't know. So far so good. I'm optimistically positive. I've liked what I've seen so far. New characters introduced are good, and it's an interesting setup as to where this can go. Great, it's in a new location, so it's in New York rather than Miami or whatever. So yeah, only 3 episodes in, but so far a recommendation. So love to know what you think. Is it just 1-2 Dexter show too many for you? And I get it. Are you glad to have Dexter back on the screens? I mean, see Michael Hall Michael C. Hall, sorry, is a great actor. You know, he has always sold Dexter, and he's doing a great job here as well. So yeah, do let me know your thoughts. Have you watched it yet? Are you planning on watching it? Are you liking it, or are you apprehensive? Put your thoughts in the chat. I'd love to know. We'll keep you posted as it goes through. What I might do is just do season finale, wrap up of the whole season. I'll let you know how it all panned out. And I'll probably do it that way, unless, you know, the show really cranks up to a 10, and I'll be talking about it a lot. But otherwise, right now, the plan is come back around season finale, let you know how it all panned out. But as always, do please like, share, and subscribe. All interactions, all help is greatly appreciated. As I've said, not had much time to make videos recently. The algorithms dropped off, so I don't think these are really getting out there that much. Do go check out my last Pop Chat special, which dropped yesterday, which would be the 19th, where I just went through all the trailers that have been released this week. We've had a shed load of them. We've got Tron Ares, Mortal Kombat 2, Stranger Things 5, Alien Earth, and Alice in Borderland 3. So go check out that special. What I thought about all of those. What am I looking forward to? Are the trailers getting me excited, or are they switching us off, as we've seen for like Fantastic Four and Superman? Probably one of the two worst marketing campaigns we've had in a long time. And talking of Fantastic Four, I will be going to see that next weekend, so watch out for that review as well. I have had a request to do a review for Squid Game 3. I was going to try and do it this weekend. I'm not sure I'm going to get time, but I promise you it will be coming. I will try and get it done next weekend alongside my Fantastic Four. So if there's any other shows you want me to review, or want my thoughts on, or what am I excited for, again, pop it in the chat. Let me know. So I will be back very soon with Fantastic Four First Steps. I laugh every time I try and say it with a straight face. Hey, look, it might be good. It might be good. Let's hope so. I really, as I said yesterday, I really want a good Marvel film. I miss having good Marvel films, and maybe this is the one. Who knows? But I'll be back soon. Now, you take care. Bye-bye now.